Howdy everybody, welcome to XAR on YouTube. I am JR, your host and pilot. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here in Microsoft Flight Simulator at John F. Kennedy International Airport with the brand spanking new Yumemi liner. This is a plane in Microsoft Flight Simulator that has been repainted in the colors and likeness of our new mascot Yumemi Butai, who's on the tail. So let me introduce this plane real quick. This is the PMDG Boeing 737-700 Boeing business jet version. And this is a payware that you can purchase from PMDG, one of the best payware planes in Flight Simulator in my opinion. It has been repainted by Chris from Germany with the XAR logo up front. Yumemi's controller icon in the back of the plane, and on the tail we have Miracle.panda's Chibi Yumemi. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I want to say it was about 2 weeks ago or so, we tried to do a marathon flight in Flight Simulator from Kennedy Airport in New York to Gatwick Airport in London. And we ran into some problems as we went along in the flight. And I have the funny feeling it's because my computer was using a lot of resources. We were doing Flight Simulator, we were using the same computer to stream, we were using the same computer to play some Nintendo Switch off of the dock that was also being fed in. So a lot of things were going on, and unfortunately we ran into some technical problems with Flight Simulator. So I thought maybe what we should do is try to recreate this flight and maybe bring you some of the highlights here in YouTube. I chose Gatwick Airport because it is one of the airports in the UK that's closest to one of the cosplayers of our mascot Sarah and soon to be Yumemi, hopefully, Keshocho cosplay. Keshocho and I, along with Amika Zelda from the United States and a few others, joined me throughout the day to have some fun, play some Switch, and well, we were kind of disappointed we couldn't finish this flight. So that's what we're going to try to do right now. I have the weather set to real time as of the time we're recording this video, but I've set the time of day to the morning, about maybe 7:45, 8 o'clock right now. We'll still have to set up a few things in the aircraft, but hopefully this will result in a sunset or evening arrival when we get to Gatwick. So, without further ado, let's go into the cockpit and let us finish our preparations for the flight. Well, here we are in the cockpit, folks, of the 737-700. Now, I should point out, first of all, there is a rogue diamond aircraft over there. I don't know why. I think it's a diamond aircraft. Microsoft Flight Simulator has updated to Sim Update 10. And one of the things that they added in Sim Update 10 is DLSS support, graphics. So if you have a RTX card like I do, I believe I have the 2060 Super or 2070 Super, one of those two, one of the earlier models of the RTX. DLSS support is added. So right now it looks pretty nice. For me, the display kind of looks a little faded, but we'll see how the rest of the graphics and things look around us as we proceed. Now I have inputted our weight and fuel information into the computer. So what I'm going to go do right now is head to this overhead panel. I am going to turn on this fuel pump over here, and I'm going to start the auxiliary power unit. Now I don't have separated audio tracks here. You can see the exhaust coming out. I don't have separated audio tracks in this recording, but maybe if this goes well and I can actually pick up some decent video editing software, then maybe that's something I will look at in the future. But right now, remember, I had hip replacement and I'm sort of broke. Okay, I should have a light here coming up for the auxiliary power unit. There it is. So what I'm going to do is hit these switches. That will switch everything to the APU, and I'm going to turn on our auxiliary power unit. So now while that is going on, we will go ahead and enter our flight plan. I'll do this manually today. So our flight is, I'm going to call it Yankee Bravo 1. Our mascot's name is Yumemi Butai, so we'll call it Yankee Bravo 1. Our origin is Kennedy, so we type in the ICAO code JFK, Kilo Juliet Foxtrot Kilo. Destination will be Echo Golf Kilo Kilo. Echo Golf Kilo Kilo, that's London Gatwick. Runway, I think I could type it in here, couldn't I? 2 right is going to be our runway. There it is. Okay. Now what we're going to do is manually input the flight plan. So I will show you the flight plan over here. This is the Navigraph. Okay, so we have our flight plan here. And we have set for North Atlantic Track Z, or Zulu. This is one of the routes that goes across the Atlantic Ocean, and it's set every day. Maybe I could change this over to the world map, make it a little easier. Okay, so we're here. Our first point here is going to be south of Long Island, which is in, the waypoint Betty over here. That's one of the exit waypoints for Kennedy Airport. Then we'll fly over Nantucket, and then we will proceed through our North Atlantic route. We stay way south of Halifax over here, over St. John's. We make our way across. We will go Southern Ireland over Cork. We will make landfall over southern England over here. And then we will continue on and skim the southern coast as we make our way over to Gatwick. So that is our routing for today. So let me go ahead and type this in. Our first waypoint is going to be Betty. So direct Betty. Then Nantucket, which is ACK, or Alpha Charlie Kilo. Next waypoint, if I look at my plan, is going to be Whale. Spelled exactly like it sounds. And which whale do we want? Because there are several whale waypoints. I want what looks like 4211, this one. This will be it. Okay, so now we're going to do a route, which is November 193 Alpha to Nixo. So this Nixo will be the start of our Atlantic route. And then we're going to enter the waypoints across the Atlantic Ocean. So I believe the first one's going to be 4850 north. We'll go to the next page. 5140 north. 5230 north. Next one is going to be 5320 north. Almost got confused there for a second looking at it. And then to Malat. And then to Gisti. So Gisti is the end of the Atlantic route. And then from there, we're going to go to Norla. From Norla, we're going to go on the Mike 140 airway. That will take us to Merli. Lima 149er. Didel or Didel. November 513 LRIP. November 17 Otmet. And from Otmet, we will fly the arrival route into Gatwick. Okay, so I think we can activate and execute. And we can check our flight plan just to make sure that everything looks good. Okay, so here's the way we can check the routing. So we're going to hit step and go Betty, Nantucket, Whale, Nixo, 4850 north, 5140 north, 5230 north, and we will just continue on to make sure that everything looks good, and I think it does. There's Otmet, and we'll just connect the dots there in just a second. Okay. We're going to do our departure procedure. Kennedy is favoring runway 22 left and right for arrivals and departures. So we already have 22 right selected. We're going to do the JFK 5 departure. Arrival, we're going to put in an arrival. And it looks like the weather is favoring 26 left. So we're going to put in 26 left. And we're going to fly Otmet 1 Golf to 26 left, and I'm just going to verify the transition here real quick. The transition will be Willow. Execute. Okay. So that route is now set. Let me switch this back over to the map here if I can. There we go. Okay, now we're going to enter the reference for our performance. We'll have the plane input the 0 fuel weight. That looks good. Our cost index is going to be 80 for today. Our reserves are going to be 4.9, or 4,900 pounds. Our initial cruising altitude, let's take a look at that. So we're going to start at 37,000 feet. And as we get closer to London and we burn more fuel, we're going to step up and eventually go to 39,000 feet. Transition altitude is good. It will change when we get to London. But for now, we're going to execute. N1 limit. So the limit of the engines upon takeoff. Let's see. I think what we'll just do, we won't do a flex setting. We'll just, or what they call a selected temperature here in the Boeing airplane. We're just going to derate the engines once, and that'll give us 99.8% of thrust. Take off. We'll do flaps 5. The center of gravity is 20.4%. A trim, when we have that set up, of 5.98, and it's suggesting takeoff speeds of 129. So up to 129. We can stop and abort the takeoff if we have to. The rotation speed is 132. Minimum safe speed 141. I'm going to set V2 plus 15 for these the autopilot system here. Okay, so ground power has been disconnected. Our stairs have been disconnected, and the chocks are away. We have the parking brake set. And I don't think we're going to need to be pushed. I think we can just make a right turn here. And then we'll taxi up, make a left turn on taxiway Bravo. That will take us parallel to our departure runway. And we'll just follow that all the way over to 22 right. So let me go ahead right now. We're going to turn on the remaining fuel pumps on the left and right side. I'm going to go to the overhead panel. I am going to turn off the packs so that we can start the engines. Packs are off. Oh, and there's this. Where are you rushing to, buddy? That's just completely random. Okay, we're going to start engine number 2. So we're going to set this starter switch to ground for engine number 2. And the engine is starting. We have our N2 display over here, waiting for it to pop up to about 20 or 25. There we go. Now we'll hit the switch and introduce some fuel. Let's see if we can go outside. And that looks like it's firing up nicely. Waiting for this switch to snap back after the engine has started. Alright, it's back on auto. So now we will do the same thing with engine 1. Okay. Alright, good start on both engines. So what we're going to go ahead and do is turn on generator 1 and 2 to switch the power over to the engines. So that is done. What we're going to do is turn on the packs once again. Isolation valve to auto. Lead on engines 1 and 2 on and APU off. And with that out of the way, we can now turn off the APU. APU is now turned off. Okay, we're going to check the flight controls now. So I'm going to move my joystick to the left. Neutral. Right. Neutral. We'll check the elevator. Down. Neutral, up, neutral, and then the rudder one way and the other way. It all looks good. Okay, so I think now we can start our taxi. Going to go ahead and release the parking brakes. Let's turn on the runway turn off and taxi lights. And let us proceed and try to finish what we started. Or start what we began. Or something like that. I'm going to turn the aircraft to the right. And we'll just continue straight on and make that left turn onto Golf and then again onto Bravo. That'll take us to the runway. What I'll also do right now is turn the center fuel pumps on. We do have tanks and fuel in all the tanks for our transatlantic journey today. And we'll set the flaps to 5. So those flaps will alter the shape of the wings in the back to give us a little more takeoff support. Okay, so we're crossing taxiway Alpha, and we're going to make a left onto taxiway Bravo, which I believe is going to be this one. So we'll start making the turn over here. Well, I tell you, those clouds look mean, don't they? So we better get out of here before things get any worse. Alright, so I've skipped ahead a little bit. We're getting to the end of the taxiway here, and we're going to make the turn onto our departure runway. So we'll hold short here just to make sure we're good to go. We'll tap on the brakes. And we'll make sure that our parking brakes are set. Okay, so before takeoff, flaps at green light and stabilizer trim is set. So we have a green light on the flaps, and I already set our departure trim for, we're about 6, like 5.9 something, right? So our takeoff checklist is complete, and I think we're ready for takeoff. So we will go ahead and change our position to strobe and steady. Landing lights are going to come on. Let's release the parking brake. Get ourselves onto the runway. Alright, we are turning onto the runway. We've checked both sides to make sure that it's clear. We have identified this as 22 right. We see the arrows. Alright. Let us take off. We're going to bring up the power just to make sure we're stable. Start our timer. And toga. Thrust hold. Rotate. Rotating before the arrows end.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Do a little crosswind here. Turn a little bit. And 1. Command. Seems to be doing okay. Let's increase our altitude to 10,000 for now. And flaps going to 1. That's what our indicator says on the speed. And now the flaps are going up. Well, that plane is bobbing a little bit. There's a new wind model, I believe, that they also introduced in the game. So maybe it's a little more realistic. Alright, so now what we're going to do is, let's see. I think we're going to turn the airplane to the east a little bit. So I'm going to set our heading to, let's set it to 110. 110 degrees. So we're going to start our left turn now. The Atlantic Ocean right beneath us here. What I can do here is I can turn off the taxi lights and the runway turn off lights, and we'll set that back to normal. Getting a good climb rate here. Let me bump up our altitude a little bit more. Let's make it 17,000. Now, if we were being guided by air traffic control, they would tell us, you know, how to get to the waypoint that we want. Punching through some more clouds on the way up here. Now, the aircraft is pitching down, so that probably means we've passed 10,000 feet already. As we can see here, it's now going to increase the speed to 280 knots. We can now turn off the landing lights. And I think what we will do here is we will go to our first waypoint of Betty. So let's see if I can find Betty over here. See, there's Betty. That's our first waypoint that we have to fly to. So the way that we're going to get there is we're going to sort of connect the dots. So we go to legs, and we're just going to put Betty and copy and paste it over here. You see it's going to draw a line to Betty, and then we're going to execute, and the plane's going to start another left turn after we hit LNAV. There we go. And you really can't see much unless we go outside, because we're in the clouds. Can barely make the South Shore out over there. That's Captree, I think, peeking through those clouds. But now we're going to continue on. I think we'll go ahead and clear ourselves to our first altitude, which is going to be, what do we say, 37,000 feet, I believe? Whoop, too far. And 087. Always nice to try to remember to set the heading in case there's any sort of failure with your GPS system. But now, as you can see, we've got a long way to go. Some of our waypoints don't even show up here. The maximum you can see here in this map is 640 nautical miles, I believe. All right. In about 2,000 feet, we will set our altimeter to standard pressure, which is 29.92 inches of mercury, or 1013 hectopascals. In fact, what I think we should probably do, we're going to look at the pressure by hectopascals when we land in London. So I'm going to switch this to hectopascals now. And now I'll go ahead and hit standard because we're about to hit 18,000 feet. So, standard pressure. As you can see, there's a difference as we jump up with that. Okay, so I've set our climb speed to 280 knots, or 0.78 Mach, until we get to our cruising altitude. Then the cruising speed will be regulated by our cost index. You can see TC, our top of climb, is over here, and that's halfway between Betty and Nantucket. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can open this up and see where we are. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Okay, so here we are. This is Betty, south of Long Island, East Islip, Patchogue. Here is Nantucket Island, and somewhere in the middle will be our top of climb according to the computers right now. Looking outside, I can see nice details in the clouds. It does look a little fuzzy. Maybe I have to check my settings later, but yep, I'm glad we are climbing up high and over these right now. So I'm just going to browse the cockpit a little bit to make sure everything's okay. Everything, I think, appears to look good. So we are on our way to London. Okay, welcome back, folks. We are, I'd say, a little over 2 hours into the flight, and where are we? Well, we're in the middle of the ocean, it looks like. Let's pull up the map just to verify that. Yep, we have just passed the edge of Canada here, so we are now in the middle of ocean. We are now right over Nixo right now. So this is the point where we have to increase our altitude per our flight plan because we're now a little bit lighter with the fuel. So for this transatlantic crossing, our altitude from the flight plan is going to be 38,000 feet, which is okay flying eastbound for the North Atlantic track because for the North Atlantic tracks, the eastbound planes and the westbound planes are kept on separate routings, if you will. So what we're going to do is go to cruise, and we're going to change this to 380. I think this will work. 38,000. So we're going to execute that, and now it's telling us to reset the MCP altitude, which is up here. So we will set that to 38,000 feet, altitude intervention. So that changes to N1 and VNAV speed. So the engines are going to spool up and our altitude is going to increase. Flight display indications are correct. And in no time we will be up at 38,000 feet. And we will stay at this altitude for pretty much the majority of the Atlantic crossing. Once we get to the end of the Atlantic track, we'll go up again and hit 39,000 feet. These indications will change again from N1 and VNAV speed to VNAV path and FMC speed, I believe it was. Almost there. FMC speed, VNAV path, we're now leveling off and maintaining cruising speed Mach 0.80, which we are allowing the cruise index to dictate. Okay, so we will hang out here for just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. We're about, I'd say that the clock is just went to 5 hours and 20 minutes since we took off. So we're only about an hour and change before we land at Gatwick. As you can see, we've just completed the official Atlantic track, and now we're making our way towards southern Ireland, and then over to southern England. As you see, our path takes us over Exeter. And then this green line is our arrival route, or star as they call it in the business. As you can see here, we have the Otmet 1 Golf arrival to runway 26 left. Now, if I pull up the Otmet 1 Golf, let me see if I can call that chart up in here. So this is our arrival route, and you can see the Otmet arrival route into Gatwick has certain altitude restrictions. Otmet is flight level 270 or 27,000 feet. Nedal is flight level 210 or 21,000 feet. Teltu is flight level 130, 13,000 feet with a speed of 250 knots. Holly has a speed of 220 knots, and Willow flight level 70 or 7,000 feet and a maximum of 220 knots. Now, if I call up the arrival procedure, let's go over here and select our approach. We're looking at ILS 26 left for now, unless the wind situation changes as we get closer. Now, if I were to call up the charts for the airport over here in my Navigraph, 26 left, let's see. So we should have initial approach. So here it is over here. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. So we are at Willow. Willow leave at 4,000. So that means we have to enter a holding pattern until we get back to Willow at 4,000. So the approach procedure, the star, this guy is telling us to get to Willow at 7,000. And this initial approach is telling us to leave Willow at 4,000. So we will have to do a little circle here to burn off some altitude before we start the approach. And then it'll take us over here to Mayfield, and then we intercept the ILS approach for runway 26 left. So I'm going to have to go ahead and insert a hold into our computer. So hopefully I remember how to do it. We're on the correct page. Here's Willow. And so I want to try to see if I can put in a hold here. Let me see if I can remember. Hold at Willow. And the target altitude will be 7,000, I think. We're going to clear this and I'm going to do it this way. I think it takes it better that way. Okay. The inbound course is, well, we're going to make this a left turn. Okay, so the inbound is going to be 284 left turns. And that is about looking good to me, I think. So we will execute that. And now if we go down here, we will have the hold at Willow. And we will continue to hold at Willow, and then we are going to descend in that hold to 4,000 feet. So now we should be good for when we get close. According to our progress here, let me check real quick. Okay, our top of descent is at 1845 Zulu, and the time is 1802 Zulu. So actually, up just turned to 1803. So according to this, we don't have too much to go until we start our descent. So I'll join you again at that point. Well, can you believe the sun has already set? So, as you can see, our top of descent is coming up really quick. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my altitude in the autopilot down to 7,000 feet. A little... 7,000, there we go. Okay. And since we're in LNAV and VNAV mode, the plane should descend on its own when we get to top of descent, and that's going to come up in about 2 minutes. What I'm going to do is set up the flight computers for landing. We're going to do an auto land for this flight today. So we have to put information about our approach into the computer. So I'm pulling up the arrival chart right now, so it'll give me the information that I need. So the first thing we're going to do is go down here to our navigation radios, and I'm going to dial in the ILS. So that's going to be 110.9. And I'm going to do that on both sides of the cockpit. 110.9. Okay. Then I'm going to enter the course. which is going to be 258 degrees. As you can see, the plane is starting to descend now as we expect it to. 258 degrees. There we go. So now we'll activate some more modes as we approach for our landing. I'm also going to go here to where's it going to be, the reference, and we are going to set a flaps speed of 30, or flap setting of 30 and a speed of 124. That'll be our more or less our target landing speed. So let's look outside, and yeah, everything is almost gone as far as the sun goes. But as you can see, we're going to start skimming southern England over here as we make our approach into Gatwick. Can we even see the plane by now? No, not really. But trust me, we're still here. So it's going to start descending here. The weather is ceiling and visibility okay, or CAV okay. That's what the weather forecast says right now. And it's favoring a landing on runway 26 left, and that'll be landing to the west. So we'll start our descent and keep on going down as we approach Gatwick. As we descend below 23,000 feet, we have the Isle of Wight directly ahead. Descending below 19,000 feet, I believe that would be Portsmouth off the left side now. As we continue to check our instruments and make sure our approach is still going well. We have a deceleration point coming up here to cross Teltu 250 knots and at 13,000 feet. All seem to be going smoothly. Alright, that should be brightened now as we pass it on the right side of the aircraft, as we pass under 11,000 feet. So, as you can see here, we have a little bit of a convoluted drawing here on the map, because again, we have to enter a hold over here so we can burn off some altitude. We're approaching 10,000 feet, so I will go ahead and turn on the landing lights at this time, and we're coming to the deceleration point. Okay, we are in that left turn now to our holding point. As you can see now, we got a big circle going on here as we hit the hold, and we might be able to see Gatwick here in just a moment. Yep. You see those big lights over there? The green lights, it looks like from here. That is Gatwick Airport. So we're going to continue to follow the arrival procedures, and we will then descend in for the approach. Let's see where we are now. 8,000 feet, 1,000 to go to 7,000. Everything is looking good. We're going to check the hold information. It thinks our best speed in the hold will be 194 knots. So once we meet this altitude restriction, we will slow to 194 knots. and then start our descent to 4,000 feet. We'll probably be in the hole for a little bit. Now, obviously, I've never flown this in Flight Simulator before, and I don't know what the real-life procedures are for this runway. If you just make a left turn, do half a hold, and then do the approach, or if you have to go like a lap and a half. Or maybe something else, I don't know. But we'll stick with what the papers say. Let me make this a little bigger. So we will stay in the hold until we are told otherwise. So I think once we get into the hold, I will initiate altitude hold and speed hold. Alright, everything looks good there. We're going to do altitude hold of 7,000 and 194 on the hold speed. And it's actually just above our speed before we go into flaps. So this should work out just nicely. So once we get to 194, I will start our descent over to 4,000 feet. This is eventually we have to depart Willow at 4,000. We'll see how best we can make that. Okay, so we're at 194. I'm going to start a vertical speed descent down to 4,000. And we'll start that now. Okay, we are back to where we started in the hold, Willow, and we are now at 4,000 feet. So we are going to make another left turn, and then we will exit the hold to conduct the approach into Gatwick. Okay, we're making that turn, and at this point, we've set our altimeter to the local setting. I think what I'm going to do now is try to exit the hold. So what do we have here? D114V. I'm going to move that up here. That should allow us to exit the hold. And we will complete the turn. And we should be good here. So we're going to stay at 4,000 until we get to, I believe that's Mayfield. And then we will descend to 2,000 and then make the turn to intercept the localizer. Making the turn to Mayfield now. We have a local time of 1917 UTC, so that would be 8:17 p.m. British summertime to the simulation point. I think I'll go ahead and slow to 190 knots and flaps 1. So we'll wait until the airplane slows to 190 or close enough, and then we'll drop the first setting here. At this point, I won't show you outside the airplane because, well, there's not much to see. Alright, flaps 1. We see the needle over here. Move to the flaps 1 setting. And we'll stay here for a little bit. Let's reduce speed another 10 knots. Let's go flaps 5. Should be turning now for the approach. I'm going to hit Vorlock. See if it'll snap onto the localizer. It looks like it's finding it. That is good. Turn off and taxi lights are going to come on. I'm going to hit the approach and make sure we see glide slope. GS is good. Second autopilot is armed. So we are good to go. When we have the glide slope come alive, we will reduce our speed further and we'll drop the landing gear. Alright, the glide slope's coming alive. Reducing speed. Flaps 15. Gear down. Ceiling invisibility okay. Looks like it's the right call. Single channel is activated off of the ILS. And let's reduce the final approach speed. So it'll be VREF plus 5 and flaps 30. Okay, let's pull this up and let's see. Engine start switches are auto. Speed brake, we gotta arm the speed brake, so we'll do that now. Speed brake is armed. Landing gear down. And flaps a green light before landing checklist is complete. And it looks like we've armed the auto land. We have command and we have flare armed. So as we get close, we will see the aircraft pitch up. That's called a flare, and it will reduce the engines to idle. Then it'll be our job to slow the plane down. One thing I did forget to set up was the minimums for the landing. So the minimum is going to be 200. Maybe I can set it up real quick. Let me see. There we go. It's all set. So now we should get a minimum call out. This is the freeware Gatwick Airport. mkvy, I think, is the artist.
400. Approaching minimums.
There's our minimum call out.
Minimums.
Continuing.
100. 50.
Flare.
40. 30. 20. 10.
Retard. Thrust reversers. Speed brakes. Alright, now we'll find the next exit. And here's the exit, right here. Ta-da! We will turn off here. Retract the speed brakes. And the flaps will come all the way up. Now, I'm not sure what the proper arrival path is to get to the terminal. But let's just say we'll go this way. Alright, folks, well, after so long and so much trying, we finally made it. Congratulations on making it here to Gatwick with us. Let's find a parking spot. Let's try turning in over here. A little wide. Well, here we are. We finally made it to the gate at beautiful London Gatwick Airport. We can see the bridge shining in all its glory. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on this special YouTube stream, or video, or whatever you want to call it. If you would like to maybe see more in the future, please let us know by commenting, liking, subscribing, and also don't forget to check out our Twitch streams and also our Extreme Anime Radio podcast shows that come your way through anchor.fm/anime radio. Or your favorite podcasting platform. Just search for the Extreme Anime Radio Podcast. Until next time, I'm JR. Thanks for watching!